Okay, hey, this is Francisca, and this is my mid-crisis life. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about consumption and expression. So I know that I've definitely spoken before in many of these videos about the heaviness, the energy that surrounds where I'm currently living. And I know that I've definitely spoken about the energy of the world, and particularly the energy of this country, and having had a comparative, being able to feel that literally the frequency in the country is different, that it's much heavier, that it's much denser, that it's filled with a lot more of those low frequency vibrations. And then, I know that I've also spoken about kind of experiencing some of that on a very personal one-to-one level with my mum, who, as I always say, I love her dearly, and I don't think she's even really aware of the energy that she puts out, but it's definitely dense. And it was definitely challenging to be around, and it kind of just creates this kind of heaviness, right? And it made me think about, firstly, how those two things have an interplay, how they interact with each other. So a lot of the way that we feel comes from the energy of the environment that we're in, right? And energy for sure is a real thing, you know. I know that most people can walk into a room and, without needing to be said, can tell if there's been an argument in that room that's happened recently before you moved in. I know that most people can meet a friend and know immediately that they're angry, know immediately that they're sad, without there needing to be any visible sign that they're just picking up on this energy. And some people are more attuned and some people are less attuned, but let's all agree that energy actually is a thing. You may not be able to see it, it may not be tangible in that way, but it's definitely real, it definitely exists, and it definitely can be felt through our senses, right? And I think that the way that energy moves, I mean, I don't really know. We are just like batteries, right? So we're just massive batteries. We're just massive balls of energy, right? And I think that we are impacted by our environment. And I think also that we impact our environment. I think that when you live in a country where you turn on the news and you're constantly being shown images of people fighting, hating, killing, slaughtering, bombing, people dying, people starving, people in your own country that don't have enough money, corrupt politicians, if you're being constantly fed this narrative, this rhetoric of negativity, it's going to create negativity. It's going to create a sadness. It's going to create a desperation. It's going to create a level of anxiety. It's going to create anger and frustration, and it's going to make you feel disenfranchised. It's going to make you feel detached. It's going to make you feel all sorts of negative things. And it's because essentially you're just in a lot of fear. You're in a lot of fear for the lives of other people. You're in a lot of fear for your life. You're in a lot of fear for the stability of your job. You're in a lot of fear for your finances. You're in a lot of fear for whether the government is on your side. You're in a lot of fear that people are going to rob you, that people are going to stab you, that people are going to mug you in the street. You're just in fear all the time. And it's just resonating out of you, and it's resonating from the TV into your mind. I mean, even when you think about EastEnders, or any of these long running soaps, it's just all fucking misery. It's just fucking misery. It's just the misery of life being played out in front of you so that you can attune yourself to it, so that you can identify with it and say, yeah, life actually is that shit. I know it because my life is shit. And it's like, when you're just surrounded by that constantly, it's easy to fall into that kind of negative mindset. It's easy to fall into those low vibrational feelings because you're literally consuming it all the time. And being aware of what you consume is such an important thing, you know. Being aware of what the impact of consumption is such an important thing. And you have to ask yourself, like, what am I consuming on a daily basis? What am I putting into my body, into my mind, into my heart on a daily basis? It's like, how can you watch what you eat? How can you be told that you need to eat 5 fruits a day, but then fed a consistent narrative of pain and desperation and sadness and fear, you know? And it's interesting because the other day, one of my colleagues was talking about how, is it because, you know, we're just like always mentalizing for everybody else? So that's like having a theory of mind, empathizing to the fact that to the point where you understand why somebody might behave the way that they do, so that you're not sitting in judgment, all the rest of it. They said, is it because we're mentalizing all the time? Is this why we care more about the news? We care more about the world? I can't understand people that just don't care about these things that are going on. And I was sat there and I was thinking, it's not really an issue of care. I love everybody. I love everybody deeply. And there's absolutely no world in which I want anybody to suffer. But consuming it creates consuming it creates a vacuum inside of me where I feel like there's nothing that I can do. I feel dejected, basically. And how does that help me in my ability to express the more joyful, loving, kind, compassionate, patient, you know, forward-thinking, optimistic, how does it help me to express any of those feelings when I'm in a constant feeling of state of fear, when I constantly feel like things are unfair, when I constantly feel, when I'm looking at the world and I'm like, it's on fire, it's on fire. And the other thing is as well, is I say all the time, like, while you're in fear, while you're in a fear state, actually, your autonomic nervous system can't work. Your organs aren't functioning properly. Your brain isn't functioning properly. You can't think, you can't strategize, you can't consider information, you can't engineer answers and resolutions to any of these problems. All you can do is sit in fear and be scared and upset that these things are happening in the world. So what you consume is a lot about what you express. What you consume, you express. It's as simple as that. So it's kind of like, I've made a choice. I've not watched the news in 10, 15 years. I don't. If it comes on, I turn it off. I've no interest in engaging with any of that. I haven't watched EastEnders in like 20 years at least, like since my son was born, easily, because I can't express it more clearly. But like, what you consume becomes your thoughts become your words become your actions, and then your actions is who you are. And I think it's really important to think about how we talk and what we talk about and what we give time to, what we give our attention to, and the words that we use. Because when we talk, we are literally casting spells. We're literally speaking into being something. we are giving it the energy and we're giving it the power of becoming something real by taking it from our mind. I mean, even in our mind, it has enough power. But beyond that, we're speaking this out into the world. We need to be really careful about the things that we say. Like, I trained myself out of saying things like wicked, dope, bad, sick, all of this sort of stuff. Nah, I'm not interested in saying that anymore, because actually, if what I think it's amazing, then it's not really sick, is it? What does sickness mean? It's not dope. Dope is like dope fiend, you know? It's not wicked. Wicked is evil, man. Right. So I think it's really important to think about what you express, for sure. Because, you know, even if you think about like counseling, for example, I always say that when you say something out loud, it gives weight, it gives gravitas to that thing that you've been thinking about. You say it out loud and you realize how important it actually is, or you say it out loud and you realize, oh, okay, that's a ridiculous thing that I keep thinking. Why do I keep on saying that? But it's become something concrete. It's become something more tangible just by coming out into the world. And I think it's really important to think about what we express. And I think it's really important to understand that what we consume is what we express. So I suppose the question is that other than turning off the TV and living in a bubble where you just don't allow any of that stuff to come in, there are still going to be times and there are going to be people in your life that want to engage you, that are used to engaging you in those kind of like lower frequency conversations, those lower frequency attachments, those people that kind of like to gossip, or people like my mom, I love her. I really do, who like don't find it difficult to self-regulate, and then are kind of like projecting a lot of their feelings onto you, a lot of their negativity onto you, onto me. So it's like, what do you do with these people? And I think that firstly, putting yourself in a place where you're not kind of adjacent to that, by making sure that you're not consuming all of this shit all the time, so that when more shit comes in, you're just like, oh, it's the same shit, I don't even see any difference. No, like, cut that out, and then you'll have more discernment when people are trying to like spew shit on you, you know? That's the first thing. And then once you have that discernment, it's easier to acknowledge it and make a decision to either physically get yourself out of there, to either end the conversation, to redirect the conversation, or if you can't, and you can't do any of those things and you feel trapped, to be able to say to yourself very clearly, this does not belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. It's yours. This is your energy. And with love and respect, I give that back to you. And you can do with it what you need to do with it, because you own it, and you need to work through what you need to work through, so that you don't feel anger, so you don't feel resentment, so you don't feel bitterness, so you don't feel sadness, so you don't feel anxiety, so you don't feel fear. I'm not going to take it on. So having those kind of like energetical boundaries, that energetical safety, the ability to have that kind of like bounce back, so that you're bouncing that sort of stuff back off you, and doing it with love. You don't need to be horrible. You don't need to reject someone. You don't need to judge someone. You don't even need to tell someone that you're doing it. You don't even need to say to someone, you need to deal with your shit, stop putting it on me. No, you just make a decision in your own energy. This isn't mine. I give this back to you as a gift, because this is your gift for you to work through. Like, stop trying to give me your gifts. I don't need to. I've got my own gifts. Thanks very much. So, yeah. I think that's all I want to say about that. Something that I'm grateful for this morning. Do you know, I think just kind of thinking about what I just said and thinking about my colleague being like, these people just don't have a heart if they don't watch the news and cry about everybody else's sadness. Um, I'm glad, I'm really grateful, I'm really, really grateful that as opposed to previously, many years before, I would have felt the need to justify and to argue and to even just make the point like that, oh, I don't do that. Listen to what I have to say. Think the way that I want you to think. Or like, yeah, just like justify my position or whatever. And I just really don't have it in me to do that anymore. I feel like if there's a space to have that conversation, or it comes about in some other way, or somebody wants to know my opinion rather than tell me theirs, yeah, amazing, all good. But I'm really grateful that I don't feel like I need to do that. So yeah, that's all.